First off, I would like to give my deepest and heartiest thanks and appreciation to my friends, Isabella, Kirk, and Coram, for donating to my Ko-fi page. I didn't even ask them to. Now, I would like to point out that the link to my Ko-fi is in the description of all my devlogs and on my channel's about page. Anyway, on to the actual devlog. I spent the last week adding visual and sound effects to most of the things that could use it in the game. With the recent donations, I purchased a stellar asset from the Unreal Marketplace. It has assets that are lovingly crafted, and I might reach out to the creator to give me more tips on how to master control of them. If I had to guess how much of Unreal I actually understood, I would put it generously at 15%. Check out this Niagara system in which particles are made. I don't understand most of it, but at least I can get it to work majority of the time. Before I continue, let's take a look at the before and after the changes. I will use the footage I took last week, which I added sounds to with my mouth. This time, I will play it in silence. Plus, this gives me an excuse to easily extend the time of the video by showing 2 clips back to back without me talking. Wasn't that a wonderful presentation, class? There was a lot going on there. I added effects for the attacking, parrying, dodging, footsteps, statuses, getting hit, and more. The blood system is amazing because it can react to the environment. You can see it forming puddles on the ground when it hits it. Most, if not all, the particle systems in the asset pack do that. Visuals and sound truly help sell that the player, or player character, is interacting with the world. Step here and there is a sound. Hit this and it breaks or explodes. But of course, it's a lot of work, and game developers must add every interaction. So I would like to say to never take for granted the tiniest sights and sounds in any game. Now, how does the character know what type of floor they are walking on? That's a good question, class. I learned a long time ago that you can create physical materials. According to the Unreal documentation, physical materials are used to define the response of a physical object when interacting dynamically with the world. So for example, I could create a physical material, name it PM_ice, and change values on it such as friction, restitution, which is bounciness, and density. But more importantly, I can set its surface type. Under the project settings, I can write what surface types I want the game to have. Then, on any material or object, I can manually set its physical material there. So far, I have only named a few physical materials because I don't need any more than that right now. This is useful for making different footstep sounds and effects because I have the character ask what type of physical material they are currently stepping on. Whenever the character takes a step, I have them fire an invisible trace from out of their ass and toward the ground. When I turn on the debug trace, you can see it here. It grabs the type of physical material and then looks for the surface type it has. From the surface type, I set what type of sound and effects come out. You can see here walking on pavement or stone, and here walking on wood. I've also considered that different characters might have different sounds when walking, so I've separated them into 3 categories and defined them as armor type. Right now it's at light, medium, and heavy. The player character is set to light armor, while the warden is on medium. I've experimented with different sounds and am using a mixture of retro sounds and whatever I can find in the massive trove I used when making my first game. It's about 157 gigs worth of sound effects. I originally found it on Reddit a few years ago, and I left a link in the description for anyone who wants to check that out. I still have never gone through every sound file and painstakingly listened to each one individually. For the sounds themselves, I've defined different classes for them and put them under the master sound class. This allows them to be set at different or separate volumes when I do add the ability to do so. So the music volume can be high while the sound effects are low, and vice versa. While changing the master class volume will simply affect all sounds under it. When I incorporate a sound into the game, I have to remember to set its class. Otherwise, it won't be affected by any of the settings if and when a player wants to adjust the volume. So far, I'm adding sounds by either putting them in the blueprint, here, or adding them simply straight onto the animation. UI, or user interface. The sounds there are just as important as any sound. I'm going to show 2 clips again so you can see the difference. The home stuff is just as important as any combat and world exploration. I wanted each and every interaction to have a corresponding noise. Of course, there's still a lot to improve and add upon, but I'm so proud of what I've accomplished so far. I'm very thankful for all the lessons I have learned from my first game, so I can employ them in this one. Though, it is an understatement to say that I still have so much to learn. I've attempted to organize my to-do list a little more and better. As much as I want to get started on world design, I think it's important for me to knock out what I already have set out for myself. Once again, peace out.